going all? Welcome back to my very busy bank holiday Easter weekend, although I'm probably going to spread these videos out a little bit, so that means nothing. This will probably go up a couple of weeks from now, but yeah, I've had fun with the XJ, with the America, particularly the America, but spring is here, allegedly. The weather is still a bit crap at the time of filming this, but Jen's Bonneville is back in the shed. That is, it's springtime. She wants to get back out on the bike, and there's a couple of things we've got to do. I've given it just a very minor, just oil change, plugs, clean the filters, da-di-da-da-da, that kind of stuff. But the main thing is it's going to need an MOT, and her fork seals are leaking. Well, one is on the one side, so we'll change them both out, and the gaiters are perished, so whilst the forks are off, she wants gaiters back on there, so we're going to put another set of gaiters right then. So got to get the forks out. As you can see, gaiters are split, and this side, well, you can feel the oil. Obviously it's been up on the stand, so it's not been on its side dripping out, but it's, yeah, there's a very, you can feel the fine film of oil on this one, so yeah, want to get that changed and sorted out anyway. So yeah, the wheel's going to come off, the brake caliper will come off. Also, we haven't got the usual Bonneville T100 or the early Bonneville mud guard, so we haven't got to take all those braces off, but we'll still get the mud guard off. I've got the different headlight and headlight ears, so they just need to be slackened off. It's all just undoing stuff at the moment. Bolts there, 2 bolts there for the caliper, 4 bolts there, slacken those off, and then the pinch bolts, but that's about it really, so I'm just going to crack on with it.
Now just $129.99. Or save £10 on an 18-volt DeWalt combi drill. Now just $89.99. So when you need to get the outside sorted, get down to your local store and screwfix.com. Hurry, deals end Easter Monday. Screwfix, right? In-store and online. Right. And you're open Good Friday and Easter Monday. Right again. Oh, that's great. Anyway, where are your dust suits? Down there on the right.
Right then, so both forks are off. I took them both off in the end. I've just held up secured the headlight. Whilst they were in the yoke still though, I just broke off the top cap a little bit, so it just makes life a bit easier when they're off. I mean, you can clamp it in the vise, but might as well do it in the yoke when it's got the nice sort of round clamps in it holding it in place rather than putting it in a vise. But so anyway, let's get the rest of the top caps off and crack on. So top cap, washer, spacer, another washer, spring, they're out. So now I've got left in here, so that's kind of how they go in the fork leg. So we've got a bolt that's just underneath here, that's kind of holds the damper rod in. So we're going to have to, I'll have to have a little look. I can't remember what the, you can kind of make a, I think I've made a tool in the past. That might be it actually. Something like that just drops down inside there and locks onto the damper rod, and then an Allen key in that end, and you can hold it and then undo it. So that's what we're going to do next. So Jen's not really interested in performance upgrades. She's quite happy with the way the bike is. She's not a, you know, mad rider. So standard springs, I know people will say progressive springs, maybe in the future. At the moment she hasn't got the money, and yeah, doesn't feel the need to. So there we go. So it's just simply fork seals. I thought I'd do a bit of an exploded look at what's inside your fork leg and what we're actually trying to do when people say you're getting the damper rod out, if you've not seen it. So let's ignore that one because we haven't got the damper rod out. So this one basically, so we took, this is how all your internal components of the fork leg are laid out inside your fork. That's what it looks like. So the fork cap came off, and then you had a spacer, sorry, a washer, then you got your spacer, there's another washer there, there's your spring, and then that goes down to your damping rod. And this is the bit that, these bits will just slide out, as you saw with the oil, and then they just come out quite easily. This will be the bit that's stuck in there and will stop you from separating these two parts as well. So you've got that hole that goes up there, that's where this Allen bolt and copper washer go, up there, and then on the inside they screw into that, and this is the bit we're trying to separate. And sometimes you can do it by just a quick sharp turn on that bolt on the inside. Sometimes, a lot of the time, they recommend they're thread locks, so you're not always that lucky. So we just need to, when they say a fork damper rod tool, this one's, some are a bit, the Triumph one's a bit weird. That's just literally like a round hole. Sometimes you'll get on the XJ one, for instance, that was, I think, something like a 14mm hex. So I used a wheel spindle nut on the end of a socket on the end of the extension bar to go down. Some are more star shaped, so, but normally you just need something that will go down the fork leg and just stop it from moving whilst you undo it with the Allen bolt. So my little tool that I made was a bit of threaded bar. I can't remember why I've got these bits of tube over the top. I think the plan was originally I was just going to tighten some nuts down there to have a 14mm nut to hold on to, but I think whether that's not even proper threads or whatever, but I've well and truly got that stuck on there, so that's kind of surplus. But if I hadn't, I could have probably tightened that down and had that as one piece. The other end is just three nuts that I've sort of locked together and then filed down into a kind of a bit of a taper. And when you attach that to a extension bar, and I've got, well, just in this instance, a 14mm socket on the end of that, so that grips it all. That's what goes down the fork leg, down there, and then that goes into the top of the damper rod and just holds that. That doesn't turn, and then you can undo it. So that's it in theory. Let's put it into practice on that one and see if we can get that one out as well. Right, so just got the fork clamped up in the vise just to keep me hands free. Right, so I've got, that's actually an old T-bar sort of Allen key, 8mm I think, and that's the one that's going to go up there. I'm just going to stick that in a 8mm socket. I'm just using what I've got, my normal Allen keys. Well, I can get the ball end in there, and my other socket ones aren't quite long enough to fit up the hole here, so I'll keep this one around just to do that. And let's try to do it the right way, lefty loosey. Right, so that bit is in there. And get the super duper tool. 40mm socket on the end there. There we go. Feed that down the stanchion. Because this one isn't, as we saw on the other one, it's not got any sides to the damper rod or anything like that. I'm going to just use the power. Well, if it starts turning, I can use the power of my belly, but let's just see if we can. That's it. Yeah, there we go. Wrench. Assuming there is a crush washer up there, there should be. And then withdraw the tool. There should be now a damper rod. There we go. Right, so got the internals out, the damper rods out. I need to separate the stanchion and the fork lower. I'm going to need to get the dust seal off. Well, let's do that first, and we're going to have a look at this, the fork seal underneath. Right, dust seal off, and then so that's our fork seal. Going to come out underneath there, and I don't know if you can make it out on there, but there's a little metal, sort of like a retaining clip, which should just be able to pop out. Okay. So that just sits in that. There's a little groove inside there. Right, and then to separate them both, just open and bang a few times, and that's it. So, there is our old fork seal. There we go. Right, so we're now ready to put the new fork seals on. Okay, right. Time to get it all reassembled. Everything's had a nice clean and a wipe down, got all the old oil out and off stuff. Dust seal, cleaned around the inside of that. Just don't want any bits of grit or any crap. Just anywhere really, you want to get rid of it. The stanchion's free of any pitting or any corrosion, there wasn't any on there. But that just made sure that's nice and clean for the fork seal to slide down without risking of tearing it up. And obviously new fork seal. Just these sizes. What is that focusing? Come on. No, it's not going to focus, is it? Oh, yeah, there we go. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, new copper washer on the damper rod bolt, and they'll have a bit of Loctite on it as well. So, set the camera up and get reassembling. that. It's come through. Yep. Right. Tool. Where we want it. Tight on that there, boy. Still obviously holding on to the damper rod this end. Right, there we go, that's snugged down. So it's 30 Newton meters on this bolt. So now it might be, I might have to put this in the vise just to hold the leg to stop it all. Yeah, I think I am going to have to just stop it all rotating. There we go. Right, so the next thing to do now is get these bushes on. So there you go. Trying to scratch anything. You got the washer that goes over the top. Now you can get your drivers. What have I got? I've got a old bit of PVC pipe. It's all right. That kind of, I prefer to use that on the fork seal. What I tend to do with this is, oh, actually this is probably going to be worth pointing out now. The fork leg's fully compressed. As you can see, that these Bonneville ones do have a tendency to jam up when there's no oil or anything in them. So don't freak out if you've done it. I remember the first time I did these, I was like, oh man, something that's stuck. Don't know if it's slightly tapered or when there's no oil, it just gets stuck at the bottom. But yeah, that can happen. Usually a bit of a hard tug will help free it off. But yeah, so what we want to do is drive that bush back in. That's the one that it doesn't take much effort to do, but it's the one that we can force apart when we're dismantling the forks by that motion. But we're going to tap it down. You'll kind of hear again the usual thing when you're tapping something down. It will get to a point where you can hear it kind of go against the metal shoulder it sits on underneath there, and you'll be able to see there's where this clip ring sits in. If you just try and visually look on the inside of there, you'll see that there's a groove where that will sit in. Then take your approximate distance of a fork seal, and then that's, if you've got those distances, then you've driven it in far enough, haven't you? Right, so that's what I'm going to do now. This you want to do very carefully, because obviously you don't want to scrape up any area of the fork stanchion. What you can do is make sure it's down all the way, so if you slip or anything, you're not going to scrape up the kind of the area that is going to move up and down past the fork seal. So all the way down there is your safest bet. If you want to be doubly sure, you can wrap it in masking tape, but I'm just going to try and be very careful. It's not like a steering head bearing that you've got to race, that you've got to whack in or anything like that. It'll drift in quite easily. Obviously, because this is tapered, this isn't touching any part of the stanchion. We're in. Quick check, that looks even, and there's enough gap. And yeah, see, there we go. That's now, because it's been on the fully compressed. And now my hands are greasy as well. Let's get this up. There we go. And we're moving again. Right, where were we? Okay, so the bush is in, the washer's sat on top. I'm going to get the fork seal. Where did I put the fork seal? Right, I've had my greasy paws all over it. Stanchion quick wipe. Right, take your new seal. Make sure you get it the right way up. Get a bit of your fork oil. Right, and then just coat the mating surface. Help it slide in easier as well. Oh. Again, innit? Pain in the ass. There we go, it's freed itself. Final gentle tap. Want something, get the old fork seal, and just, you can always put the old fork seal on over the top and tap it down with the drift as well, which I think I'm going to do just to get this to seat. I'll find where I've put the old fork seal. It's all nice and clean. You'll be able to tell if you've got it down far enough, because you probably won't be able to see in there, but where that inside there, the little groove that the retaining clip goes in, if you can't see it or the clip won't go in, then you've not gone down far enough. So okay, clips in, all good. The seal. Another wipe, check all. No grit or crap on that. Bloody things running in. Put it in the vise and free that up. Right, let me just free that up again. Same method as before. Bloody thing. And then we'll get the oil and the springs and spacers and it all buttoned together. Right, so we're ready to put the fork oil in now. So I've got it upright. There's no spring, no spacer, just literally as it just was. The fork's at its most compressed. I've gone quite gently because I don't want the bugger to lock up again. Although once we start getting the fork oil in, that should stop. These forks take 484 cc's of oil, and there is a gap of 120. Let me just double check. Yeah, for these forks, 120 millimeters, and that's measured from the very top here of the fork tube, whilst it's fully compressed with no spring, to the fork oil level, which so that kind of distance. But we'll get to that. Fork oil, and that is, well, it's over 400. So what I'm going to do is just, that's probably about, it's probably well, of course it's going to be 500 ml, you prick. So we'll pour in most of this. Put a bit in. Just start googling it, getting the air out. Alright, so that's going to be 500 mils of fork oil in there, so we're going to be for what, 14 mil? Yes, 14. I'm shit at maths. Over, but that's no problem. Right, you can hear there's no, I think we've got most of the air expelled. Now I've treated myself to this rather fantastic little, it's basically just a fucking ruler and a syringe with a hole in it. So what I can do, set it to what you want, 120 mils. As we said, we're going to be slightly over. It's going to just sit on the top there, and then hold that down. Get your third hand that you need. I'm just going to draw fork on it until we get air, because that means we're at the right level. There we go. Yep, and that's just touching the level, so we've got exactly 120 mils in there. Right down there. Get our spring. Obviously this is a linear spring, not progressive, so the coils remain the same all the way, so it's not really directional. Pop the spring in. Then pop the spacer in. Make sure you don't go the wrong way up or get stuck. Make sure it's flat. There we go. Right, now the fun bit. Got your other washer that go on top, so start to extend the fork back up. And we've only pop that on. Get your fork top bolt. These are not too difficult springs, so just a lot of downward pressure. Make sure they don't spring off in your face. Just see if the threads are caught. Yep. Cool. Tighten that until it seats and goes no more. No need to lean on it. Sorted, we're done. I think at this stage, I'll look for my gator and remember to put it on, because it'll be annoying if I put this on the bike, torque it all up and then forget that I've put the not put the gator on. And there we go. A lovely, freshly oiled, clean, new fork seals, gated. Lovely forks, ready to pop back on the old beastie. So I won't film all of that, I don't think. I'll get most of it back together. Just the reverse of removal. I've just got the pinch bolts at the top here, the only ones that are tight. Everything else is just on but loose. I'll just give it. Pumps. Get it all torqued up. Job's good. Thanks for watching. See you next time.